Hey guys, welcome back to the second episode of In the Zone. I am Christian Noy, and I'm joined by my co-host Ethan Swisser. And today we have a few things on tap. First thing, we'll be talking about the Discraft Supreme Flight Open, first disc golf pro tour of the year of 2025. And then we'll be talking about Disc Zone signing some new professional disc golfers to their team. And lastly, we'll be talking about Otter Open, which is one of the bigger events in Northern California, doing a little recap and bringing some light to the local tournaments. So before we get started, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, or of this podcast, I should say. This podcast is brought to you by Disc Zone. Disc Zone is the largest disc golf retailer in Santa Cruz, California, with a wide variety of discs ranging from 15 different manufacturers and having the lowest free shipping threshold in the nation at $35.99. Disc Zone is the go-to spot to put the right disc in your hands. If you're listening to this message, get 5% off your next order when you use code DZ Podcast at checkout. I'll put that in the description. All you have to do is subscribe to our emails and use that at checkout. But without further ado, let's get on with the podcast. So, talking about the Discraft Supreme Flight Open, definitely going to be a sick one, in my opinion. There's a lot of heavy hitters. Some guys moved on to different manufacturers. Same with the FPO women's side. Figured might as well start off with our top five predictions. Ethan, you want to start us off?
Yeah, top five. I don't know. I think number one, I gotta start with Gannon Burr just because he's the hot player from last year. And then number two, Ricky. Pretty obvious choices. Um, and then for my number three spot, I'd probably say Calvin Heimberg because I really want to see him do well this year. Hoping to see some good stuff from maybe his forehands looking better. Number four, probably say Anthony Barella. He's been doing pretty solid.
Not a bad choice.
Playing those Arizona tournaments this off season, so he's already got a bit of a warm up, I'd say, compared to most. Plus, he's got the big forehand shots too, so be cool to see that. And then I want to see Aaron Goshage do well. Number five, he did well at New Zealand, I think, right?
Yeah, New
Yeah.
Zealand Open crushed it.
So, but yeah, I mean, as far as Gannon Burr, I think he just got every shot that you need. It's hard to make too crazy predictions for this year. It depends on how these guys spent their off season. I think you'll see players that do well are the ones who really trained during the off season and worked on their weaknesses uh, instead of just relax. But I'm excited to see what we're looking at.
Yeah,
So
for sure. I'm excited too. I guess I didn't even talk about the course much. If you guys don't know, I don't even know the name of the course, if I'm being honest, but it's designed by Paul Macbeth in Florida.
Olympia,
Yeah, Olympia. Yeah, you're
yeah,
right. Olympia or Olympus.
Olympus or something like that.
Yeah. Definitely a very challenging course. I think it requires a lot of distance. And based on like footage I've seen, it requires either some crazy late flip backhands or a lot of sidearms. So I feel like players with that 450, 500-foot sidearm, it'll just be a lot easier for them comparative to, let's say, Isaac Robinson or Simon Lizotte. But yeah, getting, I guess, into my top five, kind of similar. This is in no order. First, I definitely have to put, similar to you, Gannon Burr. I mean, I don't know. Like you said, this dude has this guy's got every shot.
How could you not pick him? I mean,
Yeah, I know.
I don't know.
It's like just an obvious pick. And like it's crazy to say that the level of disc golf has just progressed so high. And it's not just because of Gannon Burr, but he is definitely like one of those reasons. He's like pushing the level that you can possibly be as a disc golfer. I mean, he's 1,059 rated. Dude's got all the shots, all the tools in the toolbox. He's got the flex forehand. I mean, he might not have the like super elite sidearm, like top five sidearm distance, but he makes up for everything with his amazing putts, circle two, circle one, his consistency. His just backhand is fire. And so
Yeah.
got to put him in the top five. Second, you know, I originally, if you asked me 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have said Ricky, but yeah, I gotta put Ricky in the list too. He's just like came off back to back 1,090 plus rated rounds at
Mhm.
Shelly Sharp. I mean, how could you not put that guy in your list? And then on top of that, I mean, to back it up, he's got the probably 480-foot, 500-foot sidearm if he wants it. Um, yeah, so I got to put him in the list. We'll see
What
how
do
he
you
does.
think plays the best at Olympus? Like what type of shots give you an advantage for Olympus specifically?
Yeah,
If
it's
you're familiar.
interesting. Um, I feel like it requires a lot of different shot shapes. There's nothing like if you were to look at De La Viega, for example, it requires basically just a straight shot. And if you can throw straight through woods, you'll do pretty well. But at Olympus, it's kind of like you gotta have like flex backhands. You got to have hyzer flip backhands that finish straight. You got to have hyzer shots. And I think most importantly, it seems like there's a lot of par fours that require just a ton of placement. And so you got to have control, and there's like tons of danger on both sides of the fairway. So it's not like oh the hardest throwing dudes. This isn't like Champions Cup OTB Open
Mhm.
where you could just rip, but
Yeah.
it if you can keep it in the fairway and have like multiple shots in your bag or your arsenal, you'll do really well. So I think all the guys you mentioned definitely have a good chance. As for my third guy, I would pick, I think honestly, coming a little bit underrated into the 2025 seasons, Eagle McMahon. I feel like, I mean, Eagles talked about quite a lot, but I think he has a lot to prove this year, and he just has all the shots. Like, it's crazy to think that I feel like he could do some damage this year. He might be able to win a few. And his sidearm is like obviously one of the best in the world, one of the best backhands in the world. It's just a matter of if he can keep it in the fairway and just get to the green in regulation. His circle two putt's super good. Circle one putt's really good. I feel like top five lock there. Fourth, or my fourth person that I think will be in the top five is Aaron Gossage, solely because not only because he did really well in New Zealand. I mean, obviously he's one of the best throwers on the planet, for sure, one of the best sidearm throwers on the planet. And the main thing is though, he switched to a spin putt. And so that spin putt, I mean, could be like a double-edged sword, could make a bunch of putts, but he could also just blast past the basket and then like have crazy comebacks. But he puts it in the basket, I think he has a good chance to win, honestly. So that's my fourth. And then fifth, I don't really know. I think the fifth person I put on this list, I gotta go Anthony Barella. I think I gotta agree with you there. I mean, AB is just on one too. I mean, although he hasn't won in the offseason at Memorial or Shelly Sharp, I mean, he was right there.
Mm.
And I think, like I was talking about earlier, like with Olympus, it requires distance, and Anthony for sure has the distance, but he could also disc down a ton comparative to other dudes. So, like when guys are throwing mid or fairway, he could be throwing his Luna, or where guys are throwing distance driver, he can be throwing his new Cigata or something like that. So I think he could do some damage if he keeps it in the fairway and continues on the high from the 2025 preseason.
How do you think the Roberts? Robinson brothers are going to fare.
Ah, interesting. You know, I think if you base it off last year, I think Isaac Robinson finished sixth, and that actually says a lot to his game, like how good his backhands are, and honestly, how good his putting is. But you know, I just, I just don't think. I mean, maybe he can get a top 10 and finish pretty strong. I just don't think this is the course for him to do it all because I think the guys we mentioned are just going to be gaining too many strokes each or like even 1 to 2 strokes around just because they have the baller sidearm. And well, Isaac's going to have to throw a perfect hyzer flip turnover. So, and then as far as Ezra, I think he's in the same boat. I mean, they're both throwing more sidearms. So, I mean, but I feel like the course just demands more than just the most baller backhand ever. It could help, but I think the the highest level they can reach is probably like fifth place. But I mean, this is just me talking. I think it's fifth at best, and then that's like their ceiling, and the floor is probably like I don't think they can finish worse than 30th. But that's kind of my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. I mean, I think it's an exciting first tournament, so I think a lot of the players are just really going to be, trying to play their best. So in terms of like trying to prove themselves with their new sponsors, I think they're going to play better, in my opinion. I mean, you see that with Ricky, you know, he just shot 2 1090 rated rounds right when it's a new sponsor. And I think that just
Yeah,
comes with some of the excitement. I know when I go play after a long break, I'm really stoked to play. So I
that's
think
true.
it
Yeah.
plays a little factor. And then I know, when Simon went to MVP, that's like just an exciting thing when you change sponsors. So you tend to switch your game up and play a lot better. I know Big Germ's really stoked with the mid ranges and everything
Yeah.
for MVP lineup. So he's been really stoked to play. So I'm excited to see how he plays in the tournament. Um, but for the Robinson brothers, I think it's going to be really fun to watch them with Ezra throwing Discraft and Isaac with flat 64. But
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point. I mean, I feel like it can go definitely both ways where guys are really excited and just like put a lot of effort in the off season and just like are come ready. And also I feel like it could also backfire a little bit, like guys are can maybe be have too high of expectations maybe. I mean, because the field is deep. I mean, it's like the guys just keep getting better and better. So I feel like some guys might get a little nervous and maybe not play as high as what they were expecting. But yeah, I think that was a great point. So hopefully they can do some damage though. I think they can. Um, and then yeah, did you have a sleeper pick underrated guy you think that we didn't mention yet that can do well?
I'm saying Big Germ.
Big Germ. I
I
mean,
think Big Germ. I mean, I don't know. I just want to see. I mean, he just won the New Zealand, so
yeah.
not a crazy deep field, but it's cool to see like such a experienced disc golfer have a win from playing for so long. I mean, it's cool to see him do well and see him excited with a new sponsor. But other than him, I mean, underrated pick. I'm not really sure. I mean,
Yeah. I mean,
I would say Calvin, but I mean, he's not really underrated. So
yeah. I mean, I think
even
Big Germ's a good pick.
yeah, compared to like last year for Calvin, I think he has a lot higher ceiling than what he has been playing. So I want to see him back at that, peak level that he is capable of.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Calvin, especially because I feel like a lot of people don't remember that he didn't have a sidearm. Like, and I think he
Yeah.
won OTB Open without a sidearm. Like, dude, just a beast. So, I mean, I think it's, I think it's fair to say that he is kind of like a little bit slept on, honestly. For it's crazy it is to say because he's a top five for sure best player in the world. I feel like
Mhm.
his ceiling is way higher than what it was last year, like you're saying. And then for Big Germ, I mean, although the field wasn't that deep, I mean, it was fairly deep. There was a lot of good guys there. It wasn't any disc golf pro tour status, but when I watched the coverage, I mean, guy was locked in. So
Yeah.
I think if he carries that energy into this disc golf pro tour event, I mean, he could do some serious damage. So yeah. And then as far as my sleeper pick, I gotta go the bazooka, Albert Tom, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching a little bit of coverage from I think Ace Run Productions, and it featured a lot of Albert. And this guy is just, it's weird to say because last year it seemed like whenever I think I watched Jonesboro last year, and he was on lead card. I think he had a strong finish. So something like he finished maybe top 10 there. But every time he was outside the circle, outside circle one, he always laid up. He would just pitch up under the basket. And
Mm.
recently in Ace Run Productions, like coverage, dude was running all circle two putts and was kind of making some. So I feel like with his amazing throwing capabilities, backhand, sidearm, hyzer flips, I mean, and he got the putt now, could be top 10. Could be
Dude,
top
you know who I just thought of?
2.
Joey Buckets.
Yeah, that is true. That's a good point. Dude's got the sidearm
He
and he's
was
got the
kind
back.
of popping off last year towards the end.
That's a good point. Joey Buckets could be a certified sleeper.
Yeah. I don't know. Something to consider. I think he has like a lot of good shot shapes. Um, he just needs to like really be locked in, I think,
I,
throughout the whole
I
tournament.
agree.
And if he is, I mean, he's gonna do serious damage.
Yeah,
That's all hard to say, you know. It's just all dependent on the player when you're talking underdog. So
yeah, fair. I
we'll
mean,
see.
yeah, anybody can win. There's probably 20 dudes you could list that could win the tournament. So,
That's it.
yeah, we'll see. But yeah, that kind of does it for. Oh, yeah, we could talk a little bit about FPO. I think based on the field, based on people that are signed up, I'd have to say that my expectation is that since it's such a long course, I haven't seen the FPO layout personally, but Evelina Salonen, I mean, one of the best throwers for sure on the women's side. And I think it's a no-brainer to pick her because the course itself like requires distance. And I think she's for sure top three, if not top one, best thrower on the freaking planet. So I'd have to go Evelina. I'm not sure if you think anything different, but I figured might as well mention that.
Yeah, I mean, I know Owen Scoggins' forehand's pretty good, so
It
that
is
could be useful. I don't know if that's too forehand dominant for FBO layout, but I
pretty.
always like watching her play.
Yeah, definitely. I think Owen can definitely do some damage. If Evelina's putt isn't falling, Owen is definitely going to make those putts. So she's always consistent. So definitely solid choice to possibly take the dub.
Yep.
But I think we can move on. Next, we could talk about the Otter Open. And I believe this was the 27th annual Otter Open. So it's a tournament that's been running for a very long time. And it
Like
was,
27 years, right?
yeah, 27 years. Exactly. And it was a tournament that both you and I competed in. And definitely one of the favorites to look forward to throughout the year. I guess might as well go over it. We could first talk about MPO and then we could cover some other divisions maybe. Actually, let's just talk about our like how our tournament went first, and then we could talk about the overview. I mean, you played MA1. How was your tournament?
Yeah, I mean, Otter Open's such a fun track. We got two courses, 20 holes each. Start on Oaks. So MA1 plays the same as MPO in terms of, you play Oaks, which is generally considered the harder course of the two. We also have Cypress course, which how it works is on Saturday, there's a 2 round day. So, I mean, you're playing 40 holes in one day. And it was about, 7 hours of disc golf. So
Yeah,
it's, a little bit of athleticism plays a factor in just how long you have to focus for. But it's really fun. I mean, the courses are beautiful and it really tests your distance capability and kind of just your discipline and decision making on shot shapes because wind can be a factor. Luckily, we had some really great weather that past weekend for the Otter Open because normally Monterey is windy or cold, foggy.
yeah,
I mean, it was really weird because it was just like a bluebird sunny day. I mean, so it was a little weird, but I'm not complaining.
yeah. No, nor am I. Yeah,
Yeah, but no, I had lots of fun. Ended up in third place, had to battle with a couple other players we were tied for third in a playoff. So I just locked in for the first hole and parked it. So I was pretty stoked on that.
baller.
Shot a 998 round, third round on Sunday. Average 971, I believe. And I'm starting to see like winning MA1 is you're averaging 980.
Yeah,
Because based on the Memorial tournament I played, the winner was 982 average. So it's kind of a goal of mine to start shooting more 980s so I can get closer to taking the win on those MA1.
totally. Yeah,
Um, talk about the course a little bit. Oaks. I mean, we started out tee time, so I mean, my hole one was different, but hole one for Oaks is like a 600 something foot par four. So, and it's really open. There's no OB except if you really shank it right into the street or something. But so you kind of just let loose, which is really fun. And then it's guarded by a group of trees that are pretty thick. And yeah, I mean, it's a fun hole. It's pretty simple. But like I said, I mean, the wind plays a factor sometimes. Um, so you got to make sure that you're paying attention to it. I know one guy on my card, he like shot his drive and it was like probably 420 feet off the tee and it landed in like this little shrub in
oh
the
yeah,
middle of the whole one. I'm like, there's no other spot that's not like any shrubbery or anything. It just
yeah,
thought wow, it was crazy. And he had to stand in the bush to make his shot and it
yeah.
like
That
totally messed him
sucks.
up. I was like, dang, that sucks. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's really just about knowing where to put the disc, and distance definitely helps at,
Totally.
on that course. I think that's why I played generally a lot better at this particular course.
Yeah. Uh,
But
yeah, that was a good point. I mean, Oaks and Cypress, these courses were formerly, I believe, in the 2011 World Disc Golf World Championships. So they were not easy courses by any means. It's pretty wide open and just requires you to throw far and throw accurately. I mean, you got to drive well in order to actually get birdies. Like you can't be throwing 300 feet out there and expect to win anything. So, but yeah, for the MPO field, it was my second ever MPO tournament. And on Oaks, I don't think I've ever finished under par before and ended up getting three down. And I was like pretty stoked with the round. I made a birdie on my last ever hole or on the last hole of the first round, and I think it brought me to 3 down. And I was looking at scores. I was 16th out of 27. So I was like, man, this was my best round ever, and I'm 16th. So I'm just getting absolutely cooked. And
What was that? 3 down rated the first time?
it was 986 rated. So I was like, I was honestly pretty pumped. I'm 950 rated. So I was like, it's a pretty good score. I mean, 36 of
Yeah.
rating. I mean, I can't complain. And I was still 16th. So I was like, dang. And then I got paired up with a good group of guys the second round at Cypress, which is their other course, and ended up shooting super hot. I mean, it wasn't my best round ever, but it was basically my best tournament round ever. I think I shot 998, 6 down. Almost had the opportunity to finish seventh or sixth or something like that. But I think, tied 10th going into the last round. And kind of like exactly how you said, like Oaks was the final round, and it's just hard. You got to drive really well, and you got to putt. And I basically did neither. And,
Yeah.
yeah, and I just like was pretty cool par guy throughout the whole round. A couple birdies, a couple bogeys, or a few bogeys, and I finished, I believe, like one or two over, and that put me to 16th, 17th out of 27 dudes. And although it's not like the best placement, I think it's pretty good for my second ever pro tournament. I think I averaged 982 or 981 maybe. So I went 986 first round, 998 second round, 959 third round. So not the best third round, but still above my rating. So can't complain. But yeah,
Would
that
have won MA1.
yeah, I would have or tied at least MA1 or maybe
Yeah.
MA1, one of the two, which would have been baller. So I feel like I'm in the right spot still. I'm not just like getting
Yeah.
absolutely smacked. So that's
Can't
always,
be sandbagging MA1.
yeah, exactly. I don't need to be sandbagging MA1. But to go over the, I just kind of wanted to highlight the MPO field. I mean, there's, like I said, 27 pros. And oddly enough, I just find this tournament just like insanely hard, not only to cash, but to win. I think the cash line this year was 10th place. And if I'm checking right now and I'm correct, it was something that was like 992 or 993 to just cash, just to make money. And then, I mean, the guys that, I mean, some of the guys that didn't cash are like just on that fringe are just amazing disc golfers like that I've seen. They like throw really well. And I honestly think they played pretty well. I mean, they left some strokes out there, like some of the guys I play with, but it's like still super good disc golfers. So, and we're not even touching the dudes that cashed. I mean, if we go through the top five, Mike Sale. Now, first 28 down. Dude, I finished 7 down. He beat me by 21 strokes in 3 rounds. I mean, not to compare.
7 strokes better around.
Yes, that's just insane. Lewis Bidney, second, 25 down. Brady Oak, or Brady Oak. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. 21 down with third. Jacob Blair, 20 down. And Thomas Tomaselli, 20 down. Those guys tied for fourth. I mean, Jason Olsesi, 14 down. Manny Torres, 14 down. Tied for six. So, I mean, these guys have been doing it for a long time and are really good disc golfers, clearly. But just to like highlight, Mike Sale, first place, averaged 1,038. I mean, that is just borderline disgusting. I mean, 1,038 at those courses. I mean, don't get me wrong. You can score, but you need to like throw 400 plus feet, maybe 450 feet. Honestly, probably 450 feet, like really accurately. And then you got to make putts and you got to do it. I mean, although it wasn't as windy, I mean, there's still like a little bit of wind out there. I mean, you still got to do it. So,
Don't forget about 2 meter too.
yeah. And there's 2 meters. And
With those
so,
oak trees and cypress trees, they just don't spit your disc out if you go in them.
Yeah. I mean, that's honestly a great point. And there's a lot of like, there's not much OB, but there's like a ton of natural OB. Even if you're not in the trees, like you could just be, or even if you're not 2 meter, you could still be in some
Uh,
crappy situations. Like for sure, everybody gets stuck in some crap for sure at Oaks and Cypress, even in Cypress. And for him, I mean, he had 3 bogeys on the weekend. It's like, dang, you went 10 down, 10 down, 8 down. I mean, sounds like I'm hyping the dude up a little bit, but that is just impressive. Like, I don't know what to say. I mean, 28 down, killer. I mean, Lewis Bidney, 25 down, like I said. I mean, it's just impressive that you only have 3 bogeys. And it kind of speaks overall. The point I'm getting at is like the NorCal disc golf scene is just stacked. I mean, I don't know how else to really put it. I mean, Manny Torres, easily one of the best disc golfers I've ever played with. And by no means did he have like a great round. We talked about it. He definitely didn't do as well as he was expecting. But for him to get 6th place still is like just speaks volumes to how good players are in the area. And I think disc golf is for sure trending in the right direction in terms of competitiveness in our area. And I think it's important just for people to know that, like, if you're watching this, like, put some respect on NorCal's name. But yeah, I mean, averaging these guys are averaging insane numbers and doing extremely well. So I think Thomas Tomaselli, who was winner last year, I mean, he still averaged 1,017 event. It's
yeah,
that is just, and he's got fourth. I mean, it's just, I mean,
still not as good. Top three, yeah.
yeah, it's like, dude, I could dream of shooting 1,017, and that wouldn't even crack top or crack a podium here. I mean, still, and then we could talk about even MA1, how you said like 982 to win it is, it's not easy. I mean, you got to play well and you got to be a good disc golfer to do that. So, hats off to Cole Medurata. I'm not sure if I'm enunciating that correctly. Kevin Omond also tied him, got second. Ethan, dude, killed it with third. Maximeno and Will Govier or Govier. Sorry about if I'm mispronouncing anybody's name, but like, shout out to them. I mean, there's a lot of good disc golfers, though. I mean, I'm not sure if you have anything to talk about that. I've been yapping. So,
Yeah, I mean the MA1 first place playoff was pretty exciting to watch. They
heck yeah.
played like a lot of holes because of the sudden death playoff. So it was one, hole two, hole three, and then hole 19 and hole 20.
Dang.
So it was like 5 holes, and they made it through like all 5 holes. So I think it was decided on like the 20th hole. Um, and they were just like both parring during the playoffs. So I was like,
Oh,
damn,
that's crazy.
that's like after playing yesterday 40 holes and then 20 holes on Sunday. So I mean, it's just a lot of disc golf, but it's cool to see those guys play well. Kevin Oman, I played with him the first round, and he has like a super. He's very forehand dominant. So it was cool to see like some really long flex lines with the forehand because it's a tough shot. The forehands are just really hard to throw far and throw like really controlled S lines with them. So I thought it was pretty cool to see someone do well with that. But yeah, I mean, they just played clean, and that's what you got to do for MA1 at least is just avoid the bogeys. I mean, that's for MPO too, but I think for MPO, you got to be aggressive. You got
Yeah.
to be attacking, and getting those birdies. Because to be able to go 10 down, I mean, you're going to have to get the 10 birdies. And
I mean, yeah.
the more bogeys you get, the harder it is to get to that level. So it's impressive that, like, people like Mike Sell can pull that out. But yeah, I think it's interesting. Those courses are fun. Um, do you think it's how much easier it is than a pro tour course
You
for
know,
Oaks at least?
I mean, based on, I would probably claim, it's interesting because if you look at Waco, which is a pro tour event in Waco, Texas, I would say that like the original course is super easy and is kind of like a birdie fest out there. And like I believe guys score, I mean, I could check, but I think guys score well into the double digits. If I look at if you look at last year, I think there's guys shooting. Let me check. Sorry. Yeah, like
Like what's even rated at Waco?
even rate is rated at 978. So is that pretty similar to? I don't even know.
So three down was 998 on Sunday.
Yeah, so it's
Uh,
probably pretty similar. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, even was 961 the first day. So it's even easier than that, clearly. I mean, obviously the rating changes with based on conditions and the field, but I would assume that this does play similar to that course, if not a little. I don't know. And personally, I would say it's probably a little harder, like Oaks. I don't know why, but it just feels like it requires like a pretty like you need to just throw far, and maybe like these pro tour players are just throwing far, and it just
yeah, they'll throw far enough. Yeah.
makes it easy. But man, like on Oaks, I guess a lot of the holes are pretty scoreable if you throw over 400 feet pretty accurately. But it's like it's just not. Yeah, so maybe it's on the similar level to Waco, but it's got to be. It is by no means a pro tour level course now. Like if you compare it to Olympus, like how we talked about earlier, there's just no.
Yeah.
I mean, we would just get absolutely cooked out there. So I
Yeah,
mean,
it takes
in
some
my
training.
opinion,
Yeah.
I mean, I would get absolutely
100%.
cooked, I should say. But even if I compare it to like OTB Open, honestly, pretty similar style. It's maybe OTB Open probably requires a lot more low ceiling shots,
I think OTB has more OB.
and it
Like if
definitely
they
has
if they
more
put a
OB.
ton of OB at Oaks, I mean, it'd be similar.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. So if they put way more OB in and made stuff tighter, it would probably play similar to that. Champions Cup, you definitely need to throw way further. And there's a little bit more low ceiling.
They have water at OTB too.
And they have water shots, like force carries. I mean, there's not many, if any, force carries at um at Otter Open. And but I mean, it's still a tough course, I'd say, for this area, especially if it gets windy. That's the most important thing. But
Hmm.
yeah, and the only reason they probably don't make it harder is because they have so many divisions. Oh, actually, wait, no, that's probably wrong because we play MA1 and MPO play together, and all the other AMs play separate. So they could make it a lot harder, honestly. So
Definitely.
that would be kind of cool if they did
If it
that.
became A tier, I think they should make it like hole one, for example, make it like a tighter fairway or something.
Totally, yeah. They can make tons of OB. I mean, on every single hole, they can make tons of OB and just make
Or
it.
make like a island at the end of it and then like bring a line back.
Honestly, yeah, not a bad idea. I think
Yeah.
that would be genius. I think, yeah, there's tons of potential for if we wanted there to be a pro tour. I mean, they could have a pro tour level course, I think, out there for sure. So, uh, but yeah, you could just change a bunch of things like you're saying, islands
Islands and OB. I
and
mean,
OB, yeah,
it
hazards.
would make it pretty damn hard.
Yeah.
Because with right now you're kind of just chewing up the fairway. If you just get up the fairway, you're making par most of the time.
Yeah. If you throw
Uh,
350, easy. Yeah, you can par.
yeah, so it really doesn't really matter. Because like the first day, that's kind of how I play it. I just got up the fairway and I wasn't very aggressive with my shots because I was just a little tentative with, you know, how much control I had at the time. I didn't want to like shank it into the off the fairway and have nothing. So I kind of just played safe and just got, within 40 feet, but it's hard to make those 40 footers a lot. So, but yeah, I mean, if you add a bunch of OB, I mean, it'll force players to be more aggressive and it'll make it a very difficult course, which I think
Definitely.
it has to be on a tour level um, course. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, most definitely. I agree. Another thing I actually wanted to highlight before we get off the topic of Otter Open, I might as well shout out some dudes that, besides the top finishing dudes that played well, just bring some light to some NorCal dudes that are probably fly. I mean, all these guys, except for maybe the top five dudes, fly under the radar for people outside of California or outside NorCal. But in MPO specifically, I mean, some of the UCSC guys like Simon Crosby, Vance Byer, I mean, those guys pretty baller in terms of disc golf. Nico Herrera Land, Gabriel Herrera Land, super good players. Definitely have high expectations for them. And the last person I kind of wanted to shout out was, let's see, was Isaiah Oliver. I played with him first round, I think first round, and he shot 1,027 8 down at Oaks. That's pretty something to be proud of. He had an ace too, hole 15 shout out. But I think all those
island.
guys, yeah, I think all those guys are like definitely on the come up and can do some damage this year on the tournaments they sign up for. But not sure if you wanted to shout anybody out or mention anybody. But yeah,
MA1 field, I want to shout out Maxi Meadow. Um, he's a bomber and he's a player. I mean, he just won. I think he just won a recent tournament.
yeah, he won Napa or something. Yeah, he won
Yeah,
Valley Con.
Vintage Cup, I think it's
Yeah,
called.
Vintage Cup, exactly. Right.
And yeah, he's shooting like 1,000 rated rounds here and there. So I'm excited to see. And he throws very far. So
Yes.
he's a fun player to be around and watch and compete against. So
Yeah.
that's about now for MA1. But yeah, all the guys for MPO. Obviously, Manny and Javi, I want to see. I think they're up and coming still and have a great future to show off some good disc golf. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, all of the guys that you mentioned too are fire players.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, we can actually get into the next part, which is the disc zone team. So for those of you that don't know, if you don't know, I am the co-owner of Disc Zone, which is a disc golf store in Santa Cruz, California, that I mentioned, sponsor of this podcast. And this year, we are announcing our first ever disc golf team. And on that team, we have, I selected, I think, some of the more talented up and coming disc golfers, as Ethan stated, definitely have huge potential. And they're not only, I think they're great representation of what the sport is or what the sport is going to look like in the future. And I think we can work well together to hopefully reach each other's goals for 2025 and hopefully beyond. But I am signing Manny Torres or I have signed Manny Torres and Aviel Gomez to the 2025 Disc Zone team. So that is something I am super stoked about. Just to talk briefly about their finishes, Manny, like I said, finished sixth at the Otter Open. Not probably what he was looking for, but definitely a good starter tournament. And then Avi is played the Wintertime Open, which is an A tier in Southern California, Pasadena, and he ended up finishing second. So shooting, I think, above his rating, 1,016. So something to be proud of there. Um, I think he has a lot. They both have a lot in the tank and could do some serious damage this year. So pretty exciting stuff for Disc Zone and them. Yeah, anything you want to talk about, touch
You
on?
guys haven't seen the edit that Chris made They're pretty funny on his Instagram. So check that out.
Yeah, check out the
The
Instagram.
exploding dap.
Yeah, check out the Instagram. Check out our YouTube. We'll have a bunch of content coming out with them. So it'll be super exciting this year. We'll have tutorials, challenges, just YouTube stuff, Instagram videos that I'm sure will blow people's minds. These guys have like all the shots in the world. It's crazy to witness um, in person. So hopefully I could share that all with you and help grow their own identity online. So sweet. But that kind of does it. Unless you have anything else to say, anything else you want to talk on. But
Nope. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate it.
yeah, this is the second episode of In the Zone. Hopefully, we can continue to pump these out a little bit more regularly, but stoked to get this one done. Shout out to the man right here, Ethan Switzer, for being my co host. We'll get some more of these out soon. And if you could leave a like and subscribe, maybe follow that dude on Instagram. I'll link that below. And yeah, that about does it. Thanks again. We'll see you guys in episode 3. See ya.
Peace.